How's it, everybody? Real quick announcement before we start the show. Jimmy and I are partnering up with Wizards of the Coast over the coming months to bring you a series of Command Zone live events. That's right, we're going to be streaming some episodes live to you, which means that if you're in the audience watching it and you're in the chat, you'll be able to interact with us in real time and join the discussion. The first episode will be on March 29th, and we'll be discussing the worst mistakes Commander players make. I know all of us make some of these mistakes, so you're definitely not going to want to miss it. If you want to check it out, make sure you go down into the show notes. There will be a link with more info on how you can attend. So definitely looking forward to it myself. Hope to see you there. Make sure you tune in again on March 29th. All right, on to our regular podcast episode.
Greetings, humans. You have entered the Command Zone, your destination for all aspects of Elder Dragon Highlander. Enjoy your stay.
Hire us, Koji Kondo. Hire us, Nintendo. You know what? That was so bad that even an advanced algorithm probably couldn't find it.
So that's a good thing because Nintendo will come after you.
Yeah, they will.
We did it on purpose. We did it badly on purpose so we wouldn't get like a
if you want
demonetized
to hear the
or whatever.
high quality version, imagine it. Okay, what's up, everyone? You're watching / listening to the Command Zone podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jimmy Wong.
How is it? It's Josh Lee Kwai. So, Jimmy, you know those moments in life where you like a concept or idea just kind of clicks in your head and you have that aha moment?
Oh, yeah. When I ascend to the next level, I level up.
Right. So I think this happens in all aspects of life. Really, you can be like reading a book or watching a movie, listening to a podcast. Sometimes it happens. I like to call it the aha moments in the shower when you're just kind of alone with your own your own thoughts. And you know, it really does happen in life where, it clicks and you kind of never look at the world the same again. And I'm sure this has happened to everybody out there. And if you've played Commander for long enough, it's definitely happened for you multiple times in sort of how you look at the game and how you look at the format of Commander. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to bring in our Command Zone staff and talk to each of them about their sort of number one biggest level up moment in terms of Commander. But first, before we get into the main topic, we have to talk about our sponsors. Bing, bing. ChannelFireball.com/command. That's our affiliate link that you want to use when you're buying Magic product, singles, anything at all. Channel Fireball has their marketplace. They've been running it for quite some time now. It's very smooth. They've got a ton of vendors on there, a lot of inventory. You get really great prices. If you haven't picked up all the Kamigawa stuff, now is a great time, actually. I think the prices have come down a little because,
everyone's been cracking the collector boosters. Yep. There's lots of cards out there. And that means that because there's 20 versions, you could get the version that's the cheapest if you want, or the fancy special one, and they're all going to be pretty well priced right now.
Yeah, and of course, Streets of Ducapena is kind of right around the corner. So when you're looking for that product, the Channel Fireball Marketplace is definitely a place to go for that. And a great feature, because if you forget to go channelfireball.com/command, when you get to checkout, you can actually just put in the code command if you forgot to put in that affiliate link, and you can still apply it. It's great for us.
Yeah, and speaking of level ups, one of the ways I constantly level up my play area is with a playmat, is with a deck box, and all thanks to Ultra Pro, who's another sponsor of the show. Josh and I have been using the product for a long, long time. And we used to play cards on the pavement, in the ground, outside of our schools, in the houses, in the backyards, and those cards would get dinged up. And then one day someone came along and said, why don't you protect that card because it has value? And that was a level up moment.
That is definitely a level up moment when you're using Eclipse sleeves and Satin Tower deck boxes to protect your game pieces. There's a lot of value there. If you buy them at channelfireball.com/command, you want to make sure that they don't get dinged up. Ultra Pro makes the best stuff to protect your game pieces.
Yeah, and also, honestly, if you're out there traveling and you are bringing your cards around in all sorts of different binders and folders and you're not finding a way to like solidify it in a backpack or in a single deck box that carries multiple things, that's a great way to level up and be safe as well and protect your cards in case someone tries to grab them or whatever else it is, you can keep track of them. So Ultra Pro provides stuff that creates a nice home for your cards, and we all need that.
Good level up moment. And the final way to support all of our content is directly if you go to patreon.com/command zone. All kinds of perks. One thing you get to do is watch game nights and extra turns earlier than the general public. You also get to talk with Jimmy and I on our Discord each and every single day.
And we will still always shout out one lucky patron at
every single episode.
Every episode. And this episode is dedicated to Barry Onmice.
Barry, You rock.
You do rock.
I'm like fairly certain we said that correctly, right?
Yeah, I think so too. Now, you may not see how it's spelled unless you're watching the video version, but we said it right.
All right, time for the main topic, which is our biggest level up moments in Commander. You know, the great thing about having a pretty big team here at Command Zone now is we get to tap into the
collective knowledge.
Yeah, the variety of Commander experiences that everyone's had, because, you know, one of the prerequisites for working here really is you have to know Magic and Commander.
Yeah.
And so episodes like this have become really fun, and we've started to do them every few months.
They're some of my favorites, actually, because I've learned a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Because Jimmy and my perspective, you've heard it a lot over the years, and this allows us to open it up. So we're really going to get a look inside everybody's head, how they look at the format differently, and hopefully there'll be some moments, maybe some moments you relate to, but also some things, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
So
we have 11 staff members that we're talking to today. Josh and I are going to be trading off talking to all of them. So how about we get right into it?
All right.
Let's do it.
All right, we're going to start off talking to Murph. Murph is one of our talented editors here at the Command Zone, also directs Extra Turns.
Yep.
So Murph, what is your biggest level up moment in Commander?
I think my biggest level up moment in Commander it comes from not only playing a lot of Commander, but watching a lot of Commander, because I get the opportunity to watch a lot of game nights, watch a lot of Extra Turns, watch a lot of other gameplay content out there. I'm kind of like this extra outside party that gets to look critically at these games a lot.
Yeah, by watch a lot, it's like watch one game and study it very
closely
for like a month.
Yep.
There's probably few people on the planet that look at a single game of Commander with as much scrutiny as you and Jake and Manson do, right? Yeah. I remember that portion when I was cutting on it a lot, so you get a lot of epiphanies.
Yeah, so you get to dissect little tiny bits of the game. And the thing that I realized most of all is that there's a lot of deals that end up happening on these games. And a lot of times these deals you don't have to take them. You just don't have to take these deals at all. So the person that's reaching out trying to make a deal to you, they don't have your best interests in mind. Shocker, I know.
They have their best interests in mind.
They're trying to get something out of you. So oftentimes when somebody's reaching out to you to make a deal, your immediate instinct should not be, oh, that sounds pretty good. Let's do that. Your immediate instinct should be, okay, why are they doing this and what's in it for me?
Yeah, your probably immediate instinct should be no.
Yes.
My default is no unless you really convince me otherwise, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a tendency, though, when somebody says, hey, if you don't do this, attack me with that creature, then I'll do this thing for you.
Yeah. But the thing is, oftentimes, people will do that thing regardless because they want to do that thing. They're just trying to get something extra, something else out of it.
I wonder who taught him to do that. Yeah.
It was probably you, Josh. I'll just tell everyone right now, a lot of this was learned by watching Josh politic and make deals.
I learned it from watching you.
I learned it from watching you.
Can you think of a moment where, what's your common response? Because I think it plays on social norms too, right? We are fine, upstanding members of society, most of us, and there's a certain amount of social pressure to just be to acclimate, to be positive, or generally so if somebody offers you something just in your day-to-day life outside of the game, you don't usually be no. You just don't tell people no straight up very often in life, right?
Yeah, you want to be amicable. You want to be okay, yeah, sure, it's a game, we're all here to have fun, which is very true. But at the same time, I mean, you just don't always want to take deals that don't have your best interests in mind.
Yeah, and I'd say secretly most deals don't.
Yeah, oftentimes, most of the time, they do not.
Right.
And they do not benefit you, especially when somebody's coming to you for a deal at the beginning of that player's turn. That's the worst time to say, yes, I will make a deal with you, because they haven't done anything during their turn. The tides of a game can change completely in one turn. Wait until they've done at least something during their turn, maybe near the end of their turn, when you have at least more information. It's that type of thing where a lot of pros will go to combat and they will attack before playing things, assuming the thing that they play doesn't affect the board, because they want to give as little information as possible. So at the beginning of your turn, if somebody's reaching out to you trying to make a deal, well, you probably don't want to listen to them.
You have to assume,
at least at that point in time.
Yeah, you have to assume they're actually waiting to see the outcome of this deal to decide what plays they can make.
Exactly.
And a lot of times they're literally trying to trick you into locking you in place so they have more flexibility. So, okay, good. Now that I know that, I can do this other thing that I want to do, that if I did that first, you probably wouldn't want to make the deal with me because you would see it and you'd be like, yeah, no, you're dangerous. I don't want to make that deal with you. But they're like, so I'm just going to talk to you first, lock you in, and then do the thing that would make you want to change your mind. But haha, it's too late because you signed the contract.
I think that's the most common thing too, because a lot of times what people will try to do is they're like, that thing's a problem. I might need to hold up mana in order to deal with that problem, but also I want to advance my game plan. So that at that point, you might reach out and say, hey, can you deal with that? I won't attack you for the next 2 turns. And if somebody says, yes, absolutely, that sounds like a great deal to me. I was going to remove that anyway. And you're like, okay, awesome. Now that I have that secured, I can advance my game plan. I don't have to worry about holding up mana for that thing. And suddenly I've gotten an advantage without actually doing anything.
Or maybe I even know you have to use your removal spell there. And what's the chances you have 2 removal spells so I can play something scary?
Yeah.
What do you think about this as a response to deals? Because I've thought about this for a while, about adding this, which is like, I'm going to make this deal with you in principle, but we need to ratify it at the end of your turn. So at the end of your turn, we'll revisit, and I have a chance to change my mind then. And then if you've done nothing that will have changed what I would have done, then we'll say, okay, official handshake at that point. So I agree with you in principle, but I need to see a little bit. I need a little bit more information. It's hard to remember to do that.
Yeah.
But if you just made that a part of every deal that you make. Only the deals that are giving offer to you, because I think you still want to try and trick people when you're offering to them, right?
Exactly. This is all deals that are coming to you. Something that I like to say is that I make deals, I don't take deals.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's great. That's a really big one. I think people have a trouble saying no to deals. And without saying no, I like to say, you got to do what you got to do.
Exactly.
Which means like, make your moves. I'm going to respond how I would respond, but I'm not guaranteeing anything.
Just try that a couple times, and you'll be surprised how many times that person that is trying to make the deal to you just kind of sits back and is like, oh, okay, now I don't know what to do.
Now I have to do something suboptimal or that I don't want to. Yeah.
And that's a very powerful position to be in. So just try it sometime.
Great. That's a good one. Thanks, Murph.
No problem.
Okay, we are here with the one and only Ashlen Rose. Ashlen, I'm excited to hear about your biggest Commander level up moment because it pertains to a game that we both played in.
Yeah, we actually were both in it. It's pretty great. My biggest aha moment for Commander was during the first fan episode of Game Nights with Jacob. And it's kind of like throughout the game that I had that kind of level up moment just because until then, I had always played really carefully with my resources. Oh, the moment was everything is a resource.
Yes. So tell us about what went down in the game that made you sort of have that moment.
Right. So in that game, the things that kind of led to that moment was first when I think you were casting Eldritch Evolution.
Yeah, and Eldritch Evolution was trying. I don't know if I was doing it or Josh was, but that card was definitely trying to be cast at some point. My memory's a little foggy these days.
So yes, it was Eldritch Evolution that Jimmy cast, and I had a card in hand for it.
You could have countered it using your commander's ability.
Yes, with Kozilek's the Great Distortions ability, I could have countered it by pitching something in my hand. I didn't though. I think at the time for some reason, I was like, you know what? This isn't a big deal. It's not as scary. And before then, like, I would jump at any opportunity to, like, deal with something with any sort of removal I had.
Right.
And not really taking the time to take a step back and evaluate, like, the board state and what's really happening. So that went through, and I think you cast the DC off of it or something. And it was not terrible.
Well, it wasn't game ending.
Yes.
And I think that was a good thing for you to realize because, sometimes people do put cards like Eldritch Evolution in their deck to get a combo piece and then go infinite.
Right.
But that wasn't happening. I think combo find a tutor off it, but that wasn't sort of the thing that broke the camel's back, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so later on in that game, I think a couple turns later, Josh goes and decides to try and cast Eternal Witness.
Eternal Witness. That's right. Another 3 mana value spell.
Yes. And I was able to discard something, I forget what it was at this time, to counter it. And
okay.
I think that just really sealed the deal for me in realizing, like, I can do this for one, just for myself to kind of be better at evaluating and just take my time. And two, like, Josh didn't think I had anything because I didn't counter Jimmy's spell.
Oh, very interesting.
That's why he cast it.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if you had sat in the tank for a long time and going, should I counter this? Then everyone at the table would have known, too, that you had that 3 mana value spell in your hand.
Yeah, exactly. So I forgot what it's called. Like it's your show, your tell.
Yeah, it's your tell, and it's sort of what people talk about when it comes to poker. But that's really interesting. I think your evaluation of sort of what was happening at the table too allowed you to make a good decision, which is stopping Josh Lee Kwai and not Jimmy Wong. However, you did completely shut me down at the end of the game. But I think that was actually a fascinating choice you made, because it's true. I think I would have shot immediately, been like, get rid of that Eldritch Evolution. Who knows what they're going to get?
True.
But when Eternal Witness is being cast, you actually know what Josh can get, and you see the threat, and you can understand, all right, this actually is a clear and present danger. I gotta get rid of it.
Exactly. And I think also through that game, I was also able to learn, like, usually I would play pretty straightforward with, big creatures. I'm going to cast those big creatures and things like that. But like through the great ways of Kozilek, I learned the truth. And the truth is that everything's a resource, including those cards. And being able to pitch the 11 CMC Ulamog to counter Jimmy's Ulamog was great.
No, was it my Ulamog, or it was an 11 mana value spell trying to make a ton. I was going to try and win the game.
Oh yeah, it was Marshall Coup.
Yeah, it was Marshall Coup.
Yes.
Well, that is a bummer for me, but not for you. I think that is pretty cool, though, that Kozilek allows you to actually generate a new kind of resource in your hand. Yeah. And that is essentially a free counterspell, but it's based on sort of the mana value of the cards. And again, those are some of the most powerful cards in the game. And so being able to sort of hold back a little bit, I think it's a great little level up.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, hopefully that doesn't happen to me again in the future. I think one thing that I could have done, right, a level up moment for me, and that would have been, hey, maybe you should have just paid one less mana or one more mana if you could have, because you know that the Titans cost this amount.
True.
You know that this deck is going to be playing these things. So instead of sort of, for me, I was like, I'm going to get the most value out of this and try to tap the most amount, right? I was trying to min-max the crap out of it, but I wasn't actually thinking about what I was doing or who I was playing against.
Right, the consequences and like the rest of the people at the table.
Yeah, and there were severe consequences for that action. I think everyone actually had a great time playing with Jacob, because playing with someone like that outside of your meta was a level up for us as well. Yeah. We got to see a whole new play style, a whole new attitude, and a sort of different type of deck construction that, it's something that I've started to do a lot more of, which is play more clones and kind of have that same thing going on. So I do love the fan episodes. And that actually another one's coming out very soon, if it has not already. So... All right, Ashlen. Well, thank you so much for your level up moment. May I never see it again.
Yeah, of course.
All right, and now we're here with Jake Boss.
Howdy, everybody.
Our post-production supervisor here at the Command Zone, director on game nights. Jake, what is your biggest Commander level up moment?
Well, I could feel it as it was happening that my life was about to change, okay? This was when we were prepping for M21, and we were all looking around at cards that would fit best in your deck for Subira Tolzidi Caravaner.
Okay.
So this card had some abilities we were trying to work around, and it had a really distinct strategy, and you knew what you wanted to do on every single turn. So the type of mana ramp we were going to play and stuff like that. And when do you want to be activating Subira's ability? What sort of creatures are you going to have? Because the key here is that on game nights, we only get one turn one and we get one turn two. Our audience isn't going to see how your deck is going to play on average. They're going to see it one time. So when we talk about, on turn two, I want to be doing this, we're talking about the only turn two that will ever be played.
Or that they will ever see, yeah.
Exactly, as far as the audience is concerned.
Uh-huh.
So then when we were prepping for...
I'm just looking up Subir here because I forget what she does.
Yeah, I think you discard your hand, and then when you connect, you draw that many. But that's off the top of my head, so...
Yeah, she... is a 2/3 with haste for 3 mana. You can pay 1 and another target creature with power 2 or less can't be blocked this turn, but you can also pay 1 in red and tap Subira and discard your hand until end of turn. Whenever a creature you control with power 2 or less deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So
you had a really distinct strategy in mind, and I was able to carry this over to my Ricksmithies deck when I played that on extra turns. A Cultivate versus Rampant Growth. Cultivate, it gives you more cards, but I do not want to be on turn 3 playing Cultivate. Turn 3 is my 4 CMC commander. So
you want 2 mana ramp so you can get it out on turn 3.
Exactly. Land, 2 mana ramp, commander. That is how the show was going to go. And this was also my second day of work. You had played my Brutaclad deck on extra turns.
Was that your second day of work?
It was. Mark Rosewater was here.
Oh, right.
It was a crazy day.
Oh, it was the Make-A-Wish.
It was, yeah. Evan
from
from Make-A-Wish was here.
Yeah.
It was a super good time. But the cool thing about that day for me was I didn't know that to win with that deck, you cast Brutaclad on the turn, you're going to win. I thought, let's ramp hard into my commander, and then we'll pump out tokens over time. Nuh-uh. No, your play pattern is you build a ton of stuff first, and then when you're ready to finish, you do the thing.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. I've thought about this a lot because obviously this is a deck building style that I have developed, and I think it's because of gameplay videos and things like that. So you're pretty astute to point that out. I don't think I've thought of it in that terms before. But it also is really good if you're just building a deck to play, right? Because that upping your consistency to the point where you feel good on a gameplay video that you're going to show it correctly to the world means that when you then took it away and didn't play it in a gameplay video, it's going to play consistently when you just play it, right?
Yeah.
So those two goals are like they're working in lockstep. So I call it play pattern recognition, which is like really thinking about what your desired play patterns are all along the step of the curve, and then building your deck to make sure. Because Subira is an interesting one, thinking about that activated ability, how much mana it costs, how many creatures you want to have out at that time. You don't want any cards in your hand, really. So how do you build your deck to really like play out A, B, C, D, E in the order that you want it to?
Yeah, it's pretty easy to get harebrained when you look at a commander and you say, well, it also makes, let's say, shrine enchantment tokens. So I might want to do something that's like, for every enchantment I have, this costs 1 less to play. And then you go into these secondary and tertiary strategies. And then on average, the deck is kind of doing what I want to do most of the times that I play it. But really, for a lot of experiences that you're going to have with other players out in the wild, it's like this game night's experience. This is the one time that they're going to see your deck and they're going to remember it.
And you want it to play out in a certain way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there will be cards that are good in your deck, but really you end up not playing, even though if you read them, they're good, just because, like you said, at that point in the game, I really want to be doing this thing. And especially if it's tied to your commander, you are guaranteed having access to it. It's not like if I draw it or whatever. And so it's like that effect just becomes a lot less likely because then you're like, okay, well, what I want to do that the next turn, well, what am I going to do? Waste the extra mana? No, I'd rather play a 5-drop or a 6-drop, or now I want to be moving to the next step of my plan. And so it's like, in a vacuum, I read this card and it seems good, but just the way the play pattern I want it to go, that doesn't have a spot.
I had this experience when building Kodama of the West Tree for extra turns. That's a 3 CMC commander, so 2 mana ramp doesn't make much sense here.
Right.
But then I'm thinking, do I want to be casting my commander on turn 2? Let's say I play a Llanowar Elves turn 1. I've got my 3 mana ready to go. I cast Kodama of the West Tree.
But nothing
It doesn't
happens.
do anything.
Right, because you need modified creatures.
Yeah, it doesn't have haste. So what I really want to be doing is play Kodama once I have my modified creatures out. So that's one of those patterns similar to Brutaclad, where my deck is built around my commander, and I'm not going to pull that weapon until
in that deck, you probably want flexible cards that can either create creatures or put counters on them. Like those would be your best cards early, so that whatever amount of those I have, by the time I cast Kodama, which is probably like turn 4 or 5, I am ready to attack with at least a creature or 2 that's modified, right?
Right.
And you still want that to be early because they need to get through, but you can, like, the best case scenario would really be something that gave you like 2 creature tokens, and then the next card modified them, and then the next card you played Kodama, right? Like,
yeah, play pattern recognition is all sorts of different. Like, then I think we go through a commander adolescence, where you are understanding the format way better, and you build decks to be more interactive with your commander, but you don't think about the sequencing of it. I've got this Omnath deck that I built recently, and every time I build an Omnath deck, it goes haywire.
It's complicated.
I figured out that if I mutate on top of an Omnath, it's non-legendary, so I can make a bunch of clones of it, and ideally, Omnath is going to hit that 3rd trigger with 10 Omnaths out and deal 40 damage to the table. I found in my playtesting that, as per usual, the deck performs so well that it blows all of its resources before I can get all the Omnaths out that I'm trying to have. So now I need to hold back, and I think I need to actually count how many lands are left in my deck, and I need to really mind my P's and Q's if Ramineth Excavator or Crucible of Worlds ends up in the graveyard, because this is sequencing on another level.
Yeah, it really is thinking about your play pattern really deeply. So, all right, Jake, I think that's a really good one. I appreciate you spelling it out here for all the folks at home. Or in the car, or wherever you're listening to it. Probably at work, actually.
I wouldn't do that. I'm always working 100% of the time. I do a super job.
All right, we are back here with the one, the only, Mr. Infect, Craig, man of many names, of one soul, and that's Phyrexia. So, Craig, what was your biggest or big or recently big Commander level up moment?
My recently and probably one of my biggest level up moments came with card draw is key, basically, is kind of what I'm calling this. And
well, hold on. Card draw wasn't key before?
Well, it was, but I was more into ramp. You know, I was always into kind of big spells and doing big flashy things, and ramp really helped me get there. Right. And then from that, you know, when I was building my decks, I got kind of in this tunnel vision of I need everything to be super synergistic, right? And I was like, well, you know, I could add this card, but man, if I add, you know,
this combo piece,
man, this is really going to go nuts. Or, you know, Cathar's Crusade in this token deck just really goes nuts, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, what ended up happening is I ended up having so many games where, you know, by turn 4, 5, 6, I had one or no cards in hand. And, you know, my board was developed really well. You know, I quickly became the archenemy, but then I had no way of kind of putting gas back into the engine. I had created this engine, but ran out of gas really quickly.
Yeah. Also, I'll say when you said by turn 5 or 6, I had one or no cards in hand, I thought you meant you had won the game, which is actually also kind of true, because typically when you do have your explosive starts and you become archenemy and no one stops you, that is the glorious Craig Blanchett win. You've killed everyone with Infect or Triumph of the Hordes, or you've done something nutty. You've got 6 Planeswalkers on the board somehow, but as we've seen, when you're on a more advanced pod or pods that just have a lot more interaction, that may not be the case.
Well, especially, you know, this strategy was better back in 2012, 2013 through 2015. But recently, you know, when this, epiphany happened for me was kind of around the time of Commander Collection Green. And, you know, they had at that time started really focusing on a lot of card draw in a lot of the colors.
Yeah.
And so, you know, black had gotten Villas by that point. Green,
blood.
You know, there was a lot more Sylvan libraries out there now. And so, you know, just kind of looking at these low CMC options, or in some cases high CMC options, of ways of refilling your deck just became more prevalent in the format as they started to kind of introduce more options in different colors. And so, you know, that's when I started really taking a closer look at all of my decks and making sure that, you know, I had at least like 6 to 10 pieces of card draw in the same vein that I'd, you know, make sure that I had the same or higher
ramp or all that stuff
of ramp, right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think we get greedy sometimes as deck builders. That's why when the first pile you make, it's like 150 cards, and 20 to 30 of them are just like, wouldn't it be cool if? And I guess part of learning or leveling up is deciding it would be cool if, but I also need to be responsible and make sure that I can actually get to those things. So that might be card draw, that may be, you know, cards like Opt that are cantrips that sort of pull you through your deck, or it's just ways to make sure that you're smooth sailing when you get going, that you're not stuck with 7 6-drops in your hand and you can't do anything. You actually have sort of that flow where you're playing early cards like Sylvan Library or whatever it is you're using for card selection and card draw early on, and then making sure that you have the ability to just keep that engine going.
Yeah, and to that same point, you know, even doing stuff like looting or, you know, drawing and discarding a certain amount of cards can help you filter through that deck, because, again, if you're going for that high synergy kind of model like I like to go with, the more cards you see and the more cards you can kind of filter in and out of your hand, the better, the more consistent, to your point, you can really make that deck.
Yeah, do you ever have trouble like playing a card like Faithless Looting and going, I don't know what to discard, they're all good?
No, I mean, Faithless, yes, obviously you get into that like that decision lock, right? Which is, you know, can slow down games, but again, the more you know your deck, the more quickly you can get out of that decision lock. So it can present that, you know, that downside, but at the same time, you're able to get a more optimized hand out of it. So at the end of it, you should be ending up with a better kind of situation for yourself.
Yeah. So I think that's a great lesson as well, which is don't get greedy, obviously. But also when you have the ability to play cards like Faithless Looting in red or whatever it is that draws discards or discard then draws, that still is better than not having that effect at all in a lot of cases, because sometimes you're just not going to play that card in your hand. There's so many games where I've drawn a card in my opening hand and it just never finds a chance to get played because of what's happening around the board, or I figure out that I can't stick with the plan that I had when I first started the game. So having that card selection, having that card draw, and making sure it's in proportion to the rest of your ramp and your big, cool, get them out, kill them everyone spells, it's important.
And I got to say, kudos to everybody at Wizards for making a lot of options for card draw recently for, red, black.
Yeah, red's gotten a ton more. Black's gotten a lot more.
The green stuff has been great. Blue already had enough. And, if they could focus on white, maybe.
Yeah,
White's got a lot of ramp options these days, but not that many card draw options.
Yeah. I mean, look, White is doing much better than it was, and I think we'll still see a couple of years probably until it really begins to even feel like it's on equal footing, just because it takes time for this stuff to happen.
The return back from the battlefield is kind of pseudo card draw. It's card advantage, but yeah, I'd love to see some direct card draw in White. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, we will leave you with one card, though, that Craig mentioned when he wrote up his brief for this episode, and that is Stinging Study. It's a great card, came out in Strixhaven. It's definitely what I would call a commander staple. I would compare it to a lot of other really solid card draw spells. So take a look at that and see if it fits in your
Instant speed
deck.
for 5 CMC, very good. I want to give an honorable mention too to Morbid Opportunist, another great card.
Yeah, great card indeed. All right, Craig, well, thank you for teaching us your level up moment. Hopefully you all can learn a little bit from that too. I for sure can definitely play more card draw because I can't afford to miss any more land drops.
Okay, and now we're here with Lady Danger.
Hello.
Our resident art director.
That's me.
She does all the awesome sets. To take a quick aside here, everyone was so complimentary of the Neon Dynasty game night set.
It was kind of blew me away. Like, I was impressed by it. And I was like, I love this. And then everybody's like, it needs to stay like this all the time. And I was like, yes, it does. But there's way more crazier things to come. So
yeah, I think the true goal is to do the next one. So they go, wait, no, it needs to stay like that every time. And then you do the next one like that and the next one like that. I know you're up to the task. Okay, but we're here to talk about your biggest commander level up moment.
Yes.
What was it?
Losing, which might seem counterproductive, but it's actually really, really good. And it's one of the first things I tell people when they want to learn how to play Magic is I go, you got to be okay with losing and you got to learn how to lose good.
I think that's probably just a good life lesson also.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, but it's not easy, right?
No, it's definitely not easy. And I think this comes from my sports background and being not a sore loser, which, I mean, if you're sitting at a table and somebody's a sore loser and you still have to finish that game, it can suck the life out of you.
Yeah, it's really, really tough. We were having this conversation in the office. I think you were there about how I think this is true. Kids are sort of less and less involved in recreational sports as kids. Like when I was growing up, everybody just sort of played t-ball and soccer when they were little and things like that. And when you lose, they force you to line up and like shake all the hands of the kids on the other team, which kind of teaches you like, hey, get over it. It's, do you think that contributes to your ability to like not take it too hard when you lose?
Oh, absolutely. Because there's always going to be another game. There will always be another game. And if you can lose and be okay with losing and then go into the next game with a positive mindset, you're going to play better. And so being able to kind of like leave that behind but still learn from it is very important, because that's the reason why we goldfish. That's the reason why all these pro players play test to find the flaws in their deck building. And so even though you might have lost later on, or in that time that you're waiting for the game to wrap up, you can go, oh, well, I could have done this better, or maybe I could have evaluated this situation a little differently. And then you can take that knowledge, move it to the next game, and then play, better. But if you can't leave the baggage behind, it's going to come with you and you're going to think about it the whole time and it's going to distract you. And Magic is one of the most complicated games out there. You got to have a clear head when you go into it. And if you don't have that, you've already lost. Yeah, you've already lost.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because I find, there are many commonalities between people that you hear them say after they've lost a game. And a lot of this is your own sort of mental barriers that you're putting up to kind of protect yourself. So people will say things like, oh, you only won that because XYZ, or they got more expensive cards, or they'll just come up with excuses so that they don't have to face the fact that they lost. They get to sort of in their mind say that was not fair in some way. And they're basically saying like, throwing their hands up and saying, I lost, but what could I have done? I was destined to lose.
Yeah.
Because it's almost easier mentally to sort of take that if it's just like, no matter what I did, I was going to lose. So it just didn't matter. And now I don't have to look in the mirror and be like, hey, you legitimately lost. And maybe you're not as good as you thought you were. And maybe you have to get better. But that actually hinders you from improving, right?
Exactly. It stops you from improving because if you keep making the mistakes over and over again, which is the definition of insanity, you're never going to grow as a player. And it's Andrea Mangucci taught me how to draft because I was terrible at draft. And I was like, I never want to draft. I never want to do it. And he's like, you got to get good at losing. He's like, you're not going to win them all, but the better and the more comfortable and the more direct you can make your decisions, which translates into Commander, is making a direct decision and going, I'm going to commit to this, and then dealing with whatever fallout that is, it makes you a better player.
Yeah, I think the irony is that like most people like Magic because it is a decision-based game where the moves you make matter, right?
Oh, 100%.
People don't like War as
No.
much, right? When you just flip over to the top card of a deck and you flip over and whoever's got the highest number like wins because it feels random. Like I couldn't make any decisions. What could I do?
Yeah, at that point you have it's just
no
complete
agency,
chance.
right?
Yeah.
And one of the things we love about Magic is the fact that it's skill based and how I sequence and my big brain plays can matter. They can lead me towards victory, and I should win more if I'm better at the game. But at the same we like it for those reasons, but we also tend to deny that those reasons exist when we lose so that we don't have to face, the reality of like, hey, I should probably examine what it is that I'm doing so that I can become better and therefore realize all these promises of the strategy really matters.
Yeah, because even when the cards are stacked against you in a situation where you think maybe somebody's a better player than you or they have better cards or access to more knowledge, I still personally will play out what I think is the best decision to make because people misplay. Even the best players misplay. So if you can take an advantage of a misplay because you're paying attention and you're locked in, you've got it. Like all those cards don't matter at that point because you're still taking advantage of it. And if you can't be in the moment because you misplayed earlier, you can still find little wins throughout the game to kind of like get back in it.
Yeah, I like this as just an overall life lesson too. And this has become something that has been sort of more and more popularized, I think, by like startup culture and the way that companies are sort of built and run now compared to how it used to be in the past.
Yes.
Whereas like startup culture is very much about like fail fast, fail quickly. Don't be afraid of failure. Try and go big. And if you fail, hopefully you learn enough on the way that it makes it worth it. Google and Apple and places like that have whole divisions whose sort of goal is to fail. Like, try this thing. We think it's crazy, probably going to fail. Fail fast. If you fail, you win. And they even say things like that. And so I think, taking that mentality into games like Magic can really help you like improve over the long term.
Oh, 100%. Because if you take your deck, your brand new deck that you've played the first time you play it, you got to play it as much as you can. Find the failures because you might think a mechanic works a certain way, and then you come to realize, well, it doesn't work that way at all.
Right.
And you're under this illusion because you haven't experienced it yet. You have to fail in that moment to find out, oh, well, that interaction was not how it's supposed to go. And then you might have to reevaluate your whole deck and then go back to the drawing board. So losing is learning.
Losing is learning. Well, that is a great one, lady. Thanks for coming on. And I hope some people out there take it to heart.
Be a good loser.
Avast me hearties, the name's Zara, renegade recruiter, and I'm looking to grow me pirate crew. For years I searched me opponent's measly hands and found only scurvy dogs. But then I started using Indeed, the hiring partner that lets you attract, interview, and hire all in one place. It'd be the only job site where you're guaranteed to find candidates that meet your must-have requirements, or you don't pay a doubloon. Indeed is your first mate at every step of the hiring process, helping to find great talent while saving time with tools like virtual interviews. Plus, there's my favorite part of Indeed, Instant Match. It provides me with a short list of quality candidates the moment I sponsor a post. Then I can invite them to apply immediately, knowing they'll be ready to enter the battlefield attacking! With Indeed, I have a treasure map to the grandest booty of all, qualified enthusiastic employees. Yar!
Start hiring right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/Command Zone. This offer is valid through March 31st, so go to Indeed.com/Command Zone to claim your $75 credit before March 31st. Again, Indeed.com/Command Zone. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Oh, hey, any dinner plans tonight?
No time. Things have gotten so crazy this new year, I am too busy to cook or shop. Any eating has to happen at instant speed.
Sounds like you need Factor. It's like Vidalcan Orrery for food.
Falcon Orrery. I'm in. Tell me everything.
All right, Factor delivers nutritious, pre-prepared meals straight to your door, and they're ready to eat in just 2 minutes.
Whoa, that's like flash speed.
Exactly. Plus, I love that Factor takes health seriously, pairing registered dietitians with expert chefs to make sure everything's nutritious. That way, Factor makes it easy for me to eat clean 24/7 with fresh, never frozen prepared meals that are so delicious you wouldn't believe they're actually good for you. I was blown away by the Peruvian shrimp bowl. And whether you're looking for something vegan, a bit of extra protein, or even just some energy bites, Factor's got you covered with a huge variety of options.
Sounds perfect. Here, let me just adjust my calendar for the time I'm going to save with Factor and... Wait a minute. What is this blank space right here?
That's free time, Josh.
Oh, never seen that before. Head to go.factor75.com/command120 and use code command120 for $120 off. That's code command120 at go.factor75.com/command120 for $120 off.
Cower, mortals, for I am Tezzeret, betrayer of flesh. I betrayed my own flesh for years, when every morning I put on boring, uncomfortable underwear.
But then I got MeUndies. MeUndies makes the softy, waftiest fabrics you've ever put on your
weak human body.
So you can lounge all day or go
conquer the multiverse
in comfort. Once you try their undies, socks, loungewear, and more, you'll never go back. Choose your favorite limited edition prints and colors in sizes from extra small to 4XL. You can also sign up for their free-to-join MeUndies membership and get new styles sent right to your door every month, like these eggs and bakey briefs. Plus, enjoy discounts, free shipping, and early access to new launches. Trust me, your flesh will thank you.
And then I will betray it.
MeUndies has a great offer for fans of the Command Zone. For any first-time purchasers, you get 15% off and free shipping. MeUndies also has their promise. If you're not satisfied with any product for any reason, you can return your order for a full refund within 45 days. To get 15% off your first order and free shipping, go to MeUndies.com/command. Again, that's MeUndies.com/command. All right, I'm here with Mr. Jordan Pridgeon. Jordan, welcome back to the show.
Hey, how's it going?
The crowd goes wild. Woo! You have a great T-shirt on. We should throw it out. It's all the band. It's
the festival of the band shirt. There's a guy who makes these and like posts them on Reddit every year, and I think they're awesome.
Yeah, I love that. Great design. Great idea.
Headliner, Ragavan and the Nimble Pilferers this year. So
heck yeah, it better be a Mall Red headliner. Yeah, why not? Okay, so what is the level up moment that you are bringing to the table today for Commander?
So the level up moment I wanted to talk about is it's more about building your decks than anything else, and the tools that you use when you're building them. So
like my big old brain?
Yes, but here's the problem. There are over 22,000 cards that are legal in Commander,
boy.
And so no matter how big your brain is, you just don't know all the cards that are out there. And I mean, sometimes it seems like people just have these encyclopedic knowledges of all the cards, but I don't. I know I don't.
I only have it because I'm forced to, not forced. I have to talk about it every single week, right?
Well, and I know for the longest time, a lot of people, you kind of just go to EDH Rec first. And that's great. It has amazing resources and it can tell you like what works for the thing. But I've found that getting to know and use Scryfall is amazing. Now, because Scryfall is like so much more than just a search engine for cards. It has all these amazing functions that just make it like so much easier to search for specific things you need for your deck.
Yeah, and I guess a lot of people don't actually know about Scryfall, or those that do may be intimidated by it because they don't know how to use the search functions. I know I've tried it a couple of times, and after a while, I'm just like, back to Gatherer, back to EDH Rec. I'll figure it out later. So
just looking for things like for when we're writing stuff and we're trying to find cards to reference or stuff like that has just made it so much better at finding things on this. So I have written down like a list of some of the most useful functions that I like to use. First is O, which is just for an Oracle search. So you could do like O enters the battlefield, and that will find cards with ETB effects or cards that like look for other things ETBing and stuff. And that might be too broad, but the trick is that you can keep adding together these different things. So
you do a very broad search. O : enters the battlefield.
Sure, and then you can narrow it down. Like, for instance, if you are just looking for goblins that enter the battlefield, you could do type goblin. And if you want it only to do something when it enters the battlefield, you can add a little tilde into your search. Now, exactly how these searches look, I really highly recommend just going on Scryfall and checking out their like function and advanced search
They'll have
tab.
it all there, the formatting and the syntax and all that.
Because it makes a lot of it really easier, but it's way less complicated than it seems. But yeah, again, you can search for something like type goblin or type land or
land enters the battlefield, right?
Anything that's a type. like is all really easy to search there.
Right. So it's kind of like you enter in the search and then it casts a wide net, but then you're like, actually make that net smaller by not looking for this or only looking for this, and then the net gets smaller. But you have to first cast the net and then narrow it down.
Well, and the thing is, the stuff that you can search is way more specific than I even realized.
Really?
There's a ton of people who go, like, they have taggers who work to like go through and tag all the cards for what they do, what they, what sort of decks they would be run in and stuff like that. And one of the things I've loved most is they have a function thing. So you can go function ramp, and it will find you all the cards that are considered ramp.
What? And this is compiled by the people that are fans of the game, people that work on Scryfall?
Oh, yeah. And you can get involved. You can join. They have a tagger project thing. So you can kind of become a friend of Scryfall and help them like make it better.
Reminds me of Wikipedia a little bit.
Oh, it's amazing.
Do they have other functions outside ramp?
Oh, yeah. They've got ramp. They've got draw, removal.
Wow. Okay, so all of the things that we talk about on our show then.
Yeah, it's huge. And you can also even like search or filter things by how much they cost. Like one thing I like doing is if I'm building a deck and I'm like, okay, I'm trying to keep my budget down on this.
Oh, you're talking about actual monetary cost.
Yeah. You can go in and be like, okay, find me every piece of card draw in these colors that cost less than 50 cents.
Wow.
By doing USD less than 0.5.
Wow. So the search functions just went from, you're finding cards with text on them all the way to function as well as cost.
Really, really interesting. It's really effective. And for Commander, it's got all these tools that are like specifically built for Commander. Identity is one of them. So if you just search like color BUG or color Sultai, you can like actually write in the names. Then it'll find you cards that have all three colors. But if you search Identity BUG, it'll find cards like Yorn, God of Winter.
That fit in, but it's in the text. It's not on the top of it.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that can be really useful there. You can also do like ID is less than, so anything that like fits into that deck. The other really simple way to do it is if you just say like Commander RW.
Red, white
That'll
Commander.
find you all cards that could be played in a red, white Commander deck.
And then from there, you could go specifically, I want to see enchantments, and then enchantments that deal damage to an opponent.
Exactly.
Wow.
And then you're like, that's my Boros enchantment deck. That's the one I'm trying to build there. Also, if you're the sort who's like building theme decks, building like crazy art decks and stuff like that, this stuff is like very easy to do with Scryfall. In the same tagger thing that does like the ramp removal and stuff like that, they'll put art notes in.
Oh, so like the different frames and stuff that we have now?
Not just the frames, like what's in the actual art.
Wait, you mean like what's in the picture?
You can do art eyeballs, and it will find you cards where eyeballs are prominently featured.
This reminds me of Loading Ready Run always was trying to build hat decks. And that means you could do that then, right?
Art hat. And it's all there. If you wanted to do a deck that's all about Urza, you can search lore Urza, and it'll find every card that references Urza.
Oh, even in the flavor text?
Yeah.
Wow.
You can search almost anything in Scryfall. It's really impressive.
That's great.
You can also do things like frame showcase and stuff like that. As a final little addition here, I put together a little example. I was trying to build a Dograk deck, I call it, which is Yoshimaru plus Rograk.
Oh, yeah.
And so the first thing I wanted to do was just like have a lot of cheap legendaries that I could play. And I didn't care if they were lands or enchantments or anything. So I put together type legendary, commander, RW, MV, mana value, which is less than 3, and legal commander. And that found me every like 3 mana value or less legendary card that I could play in that deck and put in there.
That's really, really powerful stuff.
And then to add on to that, I was like, well, I don't just want to play legendary cards. I want to play legendary matters cards. So I did another thing where you can add in, you can actually take away terms. So I said, Oracle Legendary. So this is searching for any card that references Legendary.
In the text,
But then I did minus type Legendary.
So it's not a Legendary permanent, but it
not
has Legendary.
Actually Legendary.
It's referencing it somewhere
But it references it. And then Commander RW to make sure that it was playable in a red-white deck, and legal Commander. And I found all these cards, things like, I think it's like Search for Glory or something that like will help you tutor up a legendary. I don't remember if that's the name of the card. But
but like Thalia's Lancers is another example.
Exactly. Thalia's Lancers is a great example.
Wow, that's really fascinating. That reminds me, when I built my Tatsunari deck, I lamented missing the card Whip Silk. And I bet if I used Scryfall, I could have found it.
And for me, it's kind of been the sort of thing where instead of going to something like EDH Rec first and then being like, okay, what else do I want to find? Now I'll go to Scryfall and find the cards that do what I'm trying to do there.
And then put those in EDH Rec.
And you go to EDH Rec, and if you see something, you're like, oh, of course, that's a banger. I want that one in there. That's so good.
Right.
You can add it in, but it makes your deck feel more unique. It helps you build to the strategy that you're specifically trying to pull together, and I love it.
Yeah, and that's the importance of being able to sort of control your own queries, is that you will find the cards that you're specifically looking for, whereas sites like EDH Rec, they're doing statistical analysis to pull common cards out. And that's a great place for so many new players. But I think if you're on the more advanced side, like Jordan here, as we're referencing, or you're doing it for your own art project or whatever it is, try Scryfall out.
It's great.
All right, Jordan, thanks so much for the level up.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, we're here with Shauna Gillis, who is one of the editors of this podcast. You'll be editing yourself. I don't know how you feel about that.
Can't wait.
Shauna, we always like to say also that you're one of our resident competitive EDH players.
Sir,
which I always think is good because we have another perspective that maybe some of the people here don't have because we don't all play CEDH. What is your biggest Commander level up moment?
So that's actually pretty relevant. I hope this isn't just relevant for CEDH.
I don't think it is.
Yeah. I've been playing a couple games recently where they've been ending a lot faster than I want them to. Like turn 3 or 4, some guy is comboing off and it is like not a game. So nobody has anything. They're miles ahead of us. They had a turn 1 Risky Study, Mystic Remora kind of thing, and it's just over. And while those games, we end on turn 3 or 4 before, it is very possible, but when nothing happens except for that one person doing something, it's really unfortunate. It feels bad. So
even in CEDH, that's not what you're looking for.
Absolutely not, yeah. If there's a lot of interaction to stop it and it still ends turn 4, totally, I'll take it. But when it's just one person kind of playing solitaire, we don't want that.
So what is the level up moment here?
So I'm starting to think about how I started getting into Magic and how people generally tell you that when you're looking for your opening hand, you have this free mulligan that you can look forward to, and London after that. But I'm starting to realize that I was taught that you keep 2 to 3 lands and some spells that you can cast on curve. But I realized that the thing that takes a good Magic player to a competitive Magic player, or even just a better Magic player in general, is really evaluating those opening hands. So instead of I used to just look at my hand, count my lands, and then keep it after that and not look at much else besides that. But I think you need to kind of keep a continuous evaluation of what table you're sitting at, what commanders you're going against, and kind of how you should build and look for your opening hand based on what you're facing and what you're playing too.
Yeah, so mastering mulligans is sort of a tough thing, I think, in all aspects of Magic. In Limited, for example, they generally tell you, like the pros will tell you, that most people mulligan too much because the card advantage is so important.
Sure.
Whereas in competitive Magic, they'll actually tell you most of the time that people don't mulligan aggressively enough, especially as the formats get more and more powerful. So in Legacy, you're supposed to mulligan more than you are in Standard because a fast opening hand in Legacy is just like insta win, and if you have the possibility of either doing that or stopping it, or you need the possibility of either doing that or stopping that, right? And I think as Commander gets more powerful, it's becoming closer to Legacy than Standard, obviously. So that totally makes sense to me that you would have to like scrutinize your opening hand maybe a little bit more than maybe we did in Days of Yore.
Yeah.
And really make sure, like you said, either I have the pieces to go for that early win myself, or I have the interaction to stop somebody from, because one of those two things is probably going to happen, right?
Yeah, I think that a lot of times I see if I'm playing Niv Mizzet, for example, Niv Mizzet Peyrune, a lot of my deck is looking for pieces like Dockside or Jewel Lotus, so I can get Niv Mizzet out and I can start doing things. But I'll sometimes see those pieces and I'll see like a Talisman or something like that, and I'll convince myself that because I have something to get me going and I have one counterspell or two, I'll eventually draw into something that will deal with a Crick across from me. I'm sure that I'll accrue some advantage. But what I need to realize, Crick is not going to wait for me to catch up. Crick is going to hit 4 mana, play Crick, and then win the game.
Yeah, if you don't have the answer now, then that's it.
And I think a lot of people are kind of lulled into that false security of saying, I have 2 other opponents to help me deal with this Crick or this Najeela or this crazy Winota player. I'm sure they'll have something, but a lot of times, if you're sitting down with Crick and Anji, Anchi's not going to help you. She's going to try to go off too, you know? They're just not built.
If one of your opponents is the opponent that's trying to do the thing, then you really only have the other two that could help you. It's not as many as you would think, right? One of them's going to be the one that's trying to win.
Totally.
And then there's you that knows you don't have anything. So there's really only the other two, and it could be a coin flip where they've got the right. And usually I'd say the person going off has a way. They've factored in at least one piece of it.
Something.
Yeah, they got some kind of trick. It's interesting because I think in casual, this is probably something that is not thought about enough. We do get the free mulligan in multiplayer. Right. So it really is advantageous, I'd say, a lot of times to take it if your hand is below what your average hand would be. Sure. And I think knowing your deck well enough to know, like, is this hand above the 50 percentile or below it,
right,
can help you make those decisions. But I think, you have to know your deck pretty well in order to make that decision, right?
Right. I'm not telling you to like mull until you hit Ristic Study, because that turn one Ristic Study is great, but don't be scared to mull to 5 or to 6 or 5.
I think in casual, we don't like to go to 5, but 6 is not that bad.
6 is not that bad. Yeah, I spent way too long being afraid of like, I'll get a decent opening hand and I'll be like, okay, well, this is playable. I should keep this, because if I mull to my free 7 and it's not as good as the first one, I'll have to go to 6, and I can't do that. Like, that'll put me so far behind. There's no way I can win. But 6 is very winnable. I've lost to games with a Corvold who went down to 5 and still won. So it's very doable. In CDH, and I'm sure in casual too. Yeah,
and in casual, I would say, and this is something we tell people on game nights, because we allow basically as many mulligans as you want. We have our rule where if you mulligan at least once, you can't have Soul Ring in your opening hand.
Nice.
Because in the environment where you can mulligan as much as you want, everyone just finds a Soul Ring hand. Mm-hmm. But we tell people and the guests, like, hey, the most important thing you want in your opening hand is card draw.
Sure.
Because that'll solve all the other problems. Like, if you find this awesome hand that's like, I'm going to have 7 mana on turn 3, that sounds awesome, but sometimes that game goes, I do whatever the 7 mana thing is, they kill it, and now I have no cards, and I just top deck land, and I don't do anything in this game.
Yep.
Whereas if you have a card draw spell in your hand, at least you know you are going to do things. Will you win the game? I don't know. It's not, it doesn't maybe feel as powerful as 7 mana on turn 3, but it guarantees that turn 6, 7, 8, you at least have plays you can make, which, for casual, I think it's a little different than CDH, but still, that's kind of one of the rubrics, or the one of the shortcuts we use to just say, like, is a good opening hand? Well, if it has a card draw spell and then the mana to cast it, and that card draw spell is not like 5 mana, then you're probably okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just try not to fall into that lull of just like picking up your opening hand, seeing that it's capable and playing the game, because you're going to regret it afterwards. As soon as that game ends on turn 4, you're going to be like, well, I should have been more aggressive for that opening hand. I should have really thought about who I was playing and what I was playing against.
All right. Thanks, Shauna.
All right, we are here with Arthur. Hello, Arthur. Welcome to the podcast table. We're going to talk about your big level up moment. So without further ado, let's get right into it. What was it?
Hey, Jimmy. My level up moment was followed up after a few Golos games I played. Rest in peace, Golos.
R.I.P.
Yeah, I had a couple of games. One was with Jake and Craig, and we were playing on Spell Table one night, and I was doing the whole Expropriate Animatu's Augury song and dance.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, they were just sitting there probably thinking, what is this new guy doing? This is like a few months into when I started working here.
I'm going to play with the friends at the command zone.
Yeah.
Animatu's Augury, Expropriate. Over Spell Table. They can't even give you the permanence.
I was asking them, can we please move on to another game? I felt so bad about wasting their time, and I felt bad about what I was doing. And Jake said to me, nope, you're going to dig yourself out of this hole, Arthur. The most Jake thing.
That's great.
So that was one. And then a few weeks later, I bring my other Golos deck to the office. It's a Wheels Golos deck. It was sweet.
Boy.
Smothering Tithe plus Wheels. Sign me up, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Well, the problem is, similar Smothering Tithe, I was running Hull Breacher, another rest in peace. And
by the way, there's kind of a common theme happening.
I know, right? So yeah, it was rough. I did cast Hull Breacher in that game with Josh, and he wasn't a fan. And looking back, I'm not a fan of myself for that. And that's kind of, that was the lead up to the big level up moment, which was that weekend. I went back, I looked at all my decks, kind of stood over them and shook my head, put them all out, and just took them completely apart. This was my moment.
You took them all? You took the ones like the problematic Golos ones. You're like, I'm done with this.
Those and all my others. I realized that I had to get to the root of the problem.
And what was that problem then?
Exactly, yeah. So the root of the problem is that I realized other people's fun was just as important to me as my own fun, probably more fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would say that's a very mature statement, because when I first started playing, I very much was in the same mindset of, in the back in the day, it was Armageddon. Okay. It wasn't expropriate, but it had that same feel like, I'm going to do this thing and screw everyone else over. Glory. But that's really interesting. So when you took apart your decks and you were rebuilding them, you had that in mind.
Yeah. Like, what's the point in being this crazy, all-powerful supervillain if you don't have anyone that wants to be your friend? It was kind of like Despicable Me, you know?
Like, yeah, right. Despicable Me Gru is the main character and the villain, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he says something along the lines of that, which is, there's no point in being the bad guy if there's no one that you can be the bad guy around.
Yeah, so now the moment was that I saw all these cards, I'm like, these really aren't my sort of thing. And what I then have been working towards, and I'm continue to work towards, is what can I do that is fun, that also lets me have fun? And
it scratches that same itch, right?
Not exactly, but what I did find is that I would hold board wipes in my hand instead of casting them at certain points in the game, because I thought, if I cast a board wipe at this point, then it's going to slow the game down to a 10-turn game, and that's just not going to be fun for other people. And so this was one moment where I looked and I saw, hey, I'm running way too many board wipes in this deck. And yeah, that might make the deck better, but it's just not that fun.
Right.
Another one I saw is I was running lots and lots of counter spells and counter magic. And I looked at that and I was like, instead of running counter magic, I can run forks and copy spells. I'm not detracting from their fun.
And instead, you're adding it, right.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I actually really like the direction that you're taking it, because, well, here's the question, right? What drew you to want to play Golos, Expropriate, Amanatu's Augury, Counterspells, Free Counter? What made you be like, I want to do this in the first place?
Those are the biggest, baddest, coolest cards in the game, right? Like, you get to play with cards usually for not even casting them for the full cost.
And you have a huge effect on the board. You feel powerful, and you sort of close the game out. Now, sometimes it takes a while to, but it gives you that power. And now I really like that. Instead of counterspells, you're running a fork. You're running a double spell instead.
Yeah.
Have you found that the games you're playing are more fun as a result?
Yeah, I have, because of what I've said. Like, I leave the game and I look at everyone else, and it doesn't seem like they're crestfallen or like, and usually that's because I don't win them too. So that's probably part of it. But like, it's all good, you know, like, yeah, I'm just enjoying seeing what other people do. And by not being the one doing the things, it lets other people do the things.
Yeah, and I think there are enough players, both in our play group here in Los Angeles and when you go to conventions, that if you want to have that game where you're casting those crazy spells, you can find the people to play it with. But when I always try to keep this in mind when I sit down in a brand new pod with people, I'm not there to bring a deck that's going to shut them down. They may do that because they want to beat me, and that's totally fine. But for me, it's like the experience. You know, if we get to hang out with someone or go out to dinner or go grab a coffee, that experience, it's not necessarily about the quality of the coffee. It's more about the conversation and the car ride there and the discussions you have along the way. So I feel like that's kind of similar to what you're sort of bringing to the Commander games that you're playing now.
Yeah, that's a great way to bring that lesson out into the real world, and I completely agree.
All right. Well, Arthur, I actually really appreciate this level up moment. It's, I think, one that a lot of people could learn from, because you can still, right? You can still have your fun. You can still have the deck that does that thing. But at the same time, you can also have decks that aren't as focused on that and more are about, you know, we've had friends that make secret lore decks, try to guess the theme of the deck as you play it. Friends that have decks where they shuffle in cards that are brand new each time because it's a monsters deck. And so those sorts of things, I think, you know, are a great way to evolve both you as a game player and also the way you build your decks.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Arthur, thanks so much for the level up moment. And thanks for being on the show.
Okay, and now we're here with Manson, one of the very talented editors on Game Nights.
What's up? What's up?
Manson, what is your biggest Commander level up moment?
So I think for me, it was during the deck building process, and when I was building my Villainous Wealth deck.
Okay.
So my biggest one is to not use the Commander.
Right, so you can build around a card that isn't even a legendary creature.
Right, it's in the 99.
Right.
So you just need, you know, a lot of tutors for this to actually like work. It's kind of ranging towards like the EDH kind of like philosophies, where it's just consistency.
Yeah, I would say EDH, they have a lot of decks where the Commander's just like a backup plan or something, and they have some other shell.
Yeah, exactly.
Although you're doing this with like Villainous Wealth and...
Yeah, a bunch of jank cards with like Helm of the Host and whatnot. And that's just how I found building Commander decks nowadays fun for me. Because, you know, you do like nowadays you still have the Commander, right? You build around the Commander, but it's just kind of, you know, boring.
That's what everybody does? Oh, you're one of these?
Yeah, I'm like a hipster, yeah.
Murph has he's contagious, I suppose, his hipsterness. Well, I think, although Murph, he'll choose like little used commanders.
Right.
I know your decks a lot of times are, like a hidden strategy that you can't tell what it is by looking at the commander, right?
Right, exactly.
So it's that surprise factor you kind of like?
Exactly, yeah. And it's like, once you start doing that, building around like maybe one card in the 99, then you move on to like maybe building around a theme of a deck, right? So like, for example, my polymorph deck.
Right, which you played on extra turns.
Exactly. So it was just a bunch of polymorph cards where, because there was enough of them, it was actually pretty consistent.
Right. If you have enough redundancy for a type of effect, you can build around things. Kind of similar to my Tim deck, I would say. Where like I'm like, oh, tapping, untapping. There's enough of those cards that my commander doesn't have to do that.
Right.
It can just support that strategy. And then I have 20 cards in the deck or 30 cards or whatever that are built around this theme that really doesn't have support from a commander right now.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And you could build like, a lot of my decks are just basically jank.
Let me ask you, going back to your Villainous Wealth deck, because, I have some decks built around this way, and I think I was early on in the format, my 5-color Nekusar deck was something I talked about a lot, which is, sort of similar, I'd say, to Polymorph or something, where I'm like, there's a lot of Nekusar effects. I'm just going to go in 5-color, and I don't care if it's Nekusar or, Underworld Dreams or whatever it is.
Right, exactly.
I'll find a way to kill you by the card draw. When you build around a singular card, though, it's a little different, like Villainous Wealth, because that's a situation where, like, what happens if they counter the Villainous Wealth or they exile from your graveyard or something, and now your whole strategy can kind of, come apart at the seams if you're not careful. Do you worry about that when you build decks like that?
Yeah, a little bit. So that's why I have a lot of cards like Eternal Witness or Wildest Dreams, anything that just gets Villainous Wealth back out of the graveyard.
Yeah.
And that's just part of the strategy now too, where it's like I'm just trying to cast Villainous Wealth as many times as I can. And there are certain other cards that, get stuff out of exile too. So I do have those in the deck, and I can, search them out because I do have tutors for Villainous Wealth. So it's kind of like a self-built engine almost, where it's like it's protecting itself while at the same time doing its plan.
I have found that those style of decks do tend to be fairly strong because tutors are just naturally strong. So you can also be like, well, this tutor's supposed to go find Villainous Wealth, but I need a board wipe right now, so I'm just going to go find Toxic Deluge. Or whatever.
Exactly.
And black tends to be like one of the keystone colors when doing that strategy, just because they're not limited in what their tutors can find.
Right, exactly. So it gives me the exact card that I need.
Yeah, but it is a way to, some of the most unique decks I've seen in the format are built around either cards or a couple of cards that are similar, but there's only 3 of them, so it's hard. It seems hard to build a deck around that theme, and there's no commander that they have designed that really like supports it.
Yeah.
And a lot GPs and things like that, a lot of the most unique stuff that I've seen are decks that are built around sort of that philosophy.
Yeah, exactly. And then I have like a Shirei deck too, where it's about like just having my board having a bunch of -1/-1 effects. So then I have a bunch of 1 toughness creatures. They instantly die, and I get their ETB effects every single end step because of Shirei.
I've played against that deck a few times. Once it gets going, it's scary, but it's got a lot of pieces.
Right, yeah. And a lot of these decks, they need a lot of pieces for them to work, but once it gets going, it actually like really snowballs.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks, Manson.
Peace.
All right, we are now here with Mr. Damon Lenz. Damon, how's it going?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
Welcome back to the podcast. Always good to see your face. All the new faces on the podcast is always a joy.
Yeah, and I miss you. I miss you frequently.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm actually not around the podcast editing room very often, so I don't see all folk very often at the office. But that doesn't mean that we can't talk about some Commander level up moments. So, in a nutshell, what was your big level up?
All right. So I've been playing Magic a long time. I've mentioned that before. Not important. But I started playing Commander right around RTR, Return to Ravnica. The first
Me too, actually.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. I got in. I remember pulling a one of the big dragons and being like, wow, this is so cool. It's a mythic rare. And that really got me hooked.
Really, that's awesome. For me, funnily enough, the thing that I love from RTR was Sphinx's Revelation.
Oh, okay. All right. We're a different kind of player.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, so the first Commander deck I built was actually a Avacyn Angel of Hope deck. It was just board wipe Trival. So
very nice.
Starting off strong there with the decks that people like to play against. But anyway, so I played with a relatively small play group. Commander wasn't as big back then as it is now, so I wasn't playing with that many people.
Yeah,
and because of that, I was playing mostly Creature Wraths. That was just, I know that every deck needed wraths, and that was kind of already a known quantity even back then.
Right.
But I only really focused on creature wrath. I didn't really consider, wraths that might hit enchantments or artifacts or planeswalkers or anything like. Part of that, don't get me wrong, is wraths, again, weren't as good back then as they are now, but, still.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started playing too, a lot of my decks always packed a Wrath of God or just a destroy all creatures type spell, and I was like, that's it, that's my Wrath, I'm good to go.
Yeah, so like for me back then, it was like, okay, I'm going to run like Wrath of God, Damnation, maybe Supreme Verdict, those type of cards.
Mm-hmm.
Later on in my Magic career, I started playing with a larger group, particularly my best friend who plays a ton of enchantments. He loves enchantment decks. And so, I was noticing like, man, I keep losing, like I keep having board states where there's a ton of enchantments or other permanents on the battlefield. I have these wraths and I can't do anything about it. And I think looking back on it now, I think the mindset was like most of the time when you die in Commander, it's because of some creature, like either it what actually does the killing blow, I should say.
Right.
So like, you're getting hit by combat damage or a creature ability that's doing a bunch of damage to you.
Mm-hmm.
But something that I didn't really consider back then was like the engine that led to me losing wasn't that creature, it was all these other factors, and then that creature just happened to be the thing that was dealing the blow.
I see. You sort of took a slightly more macro perspective and looked at the whole of the game and whole of the advancement towards killing you, and the engine was doing a lot of the work.
Exactly. And so as a result of that, I started diversifying my wraths, playing with a larger play group, seeing different things I would have to respond to. And I am a control player, so that's why wraths. So, I started moving off of, the standard Wrath of God and those type of things, started playing more austere command. All is Dust is one that I particularly love. And then my favorite Wrath of all time, Tragic Arrogance.
Great card.
Yeah, that card is fantastic. If you're not playing it, you definitely should give it a try. It has frequently overperformed. It is particularly good against any deck that focuses on a particular card type. So like you're playing against an artifact deck, you might have a board state where they just have a ton of artifacts and they're about to go off or whatever, and you just Tragic Arrogance. You're going to keep your worst. You're going to tell them you're going to keep your worst artifact. You're going to keep your worst creature and wipe everything else. And on top of that, Tragic Arrogance gets around indestructibility.
Oh, because it's sacrificing, right?
It is sacrifice.
Right.
It also doesn't target, and that's a big thing of it. You're choosing permanents, but you're not targeting any of those permanents.
Yeah.
It also blows up planeswalkers. It blows up enchantments. It blows up creatures. It's incredible. And because I started reframing the way that I looked at wraths and started branching out my wraths into other categories, that has drastically increased, leveled up my gameplay experience.
Do you find that you cast wraths at different times now as well, where you're like, the engine's halfway done, I don't care, I'm going to blow it up right now? Or do you sort of like wait for it to get going and then you're like, okay, now is the time to pull the trigger on this Bane of Progress or whatever it is?
So that depends on two factors. Basically, if any game where I start off the game with a wrath, I'm going to hold back, let people start deploying, and then typically right before they're about to draw cards, that's when I'm going to wrath, because now I have a card advantage over them.
Right.
As opposed to when I draw it later, then I might I might have a little bit of a board state. I'll sit back and keep doing the things that I'm doing until just before I'm going to lose or some sort of problematic thing is going to happen. And then that's when I pull the trigger.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. That's a level up moment as well for someone watching, which is the engine could be there, but it doesn't make a huge difference until it really starts impacting the board, either by the player drawing cards and refilling, or they're making their creature so big and scary that it's going to wipe you out.
That's right.
So those are the moments that you're trying to look for, sort of when they turn the key on the ignition, so to speak.
Exactly. And that's kind of a big takeaway, I guess, to take from a control player is like, when you play your wrath is the most important part of playing a wrath. You need to have wraths, but if you're playing it incorrectly, it's going to underperform for you and you're going to feel like, oh, this card was just wasted. And I would encourage you not to pull out too many wraths from your decks. You still need them. And I've seen too many decks where it's like, they play they have a huge board state and people are sitting there like, yeah, I can't do anything about that. And it's like, you need to take into account that you're not always going to be the one that's leading the game. There are going to be points in the game when you are behind. And that wrath is probably the only thing that would get you out of that.
Yeah, it's true. As a control player, does it kind of make your stomach turn when you're like, it's up to me once again to deal with these threats? And everyone else is going to hold on to their cards, but I'm going to have to remove 4 mana from myself and part of my turn.
Yes and no. I kind of go into that with that mentality. I know I am the control player. I know that more than likely I'm going to be the one dealing with most of the threats and policing the board. But because I go in that mentality, it doesn't really hurt. And because I know like, they've dumped a certain amount of resource into this. If I play this board right now, they're stuck with like maybe 1, maybe 2 cards in hand. And I have all these extra cards because I've been holding back.
Right. You'll recover and you'll do fine. Yeah.
That is a huge boon. On top of that, you can often use wraths to gain political favor. So again, going back to tragic arrogance, like, you have 4 players, but let's say we all agree this person's a problem.
It's Craig, by the way.
It's Craig, right. So we're going to deal with Craig. We can be friends, so I'll let you keep. I'll even let you choose what you keep. Now all of a sudden we're friends, and I don't have to worry about this person.
Yeah,
and I've gained a huge amount of favor. So I may even be down cards, but it doesn't matter because I have gained this sort of.
Yeah, sometimes you only just need 1 turn too.
Yeah,
exactly. Like don't mess with me for a turn. I know it's a board wipe. I had to spend the mana, I had to pay the card, so give me a turn to get back on my feet.
Oh, and I did have one more note for tragic arrogance, and this is something that not a lot of people know, and it always blows people out and surprises them every time I do it. Tragic arrogance, the way that it works, if they are playing like an artifact deck, and let's say they have an artifact creature like Solemn Simulacrum, you can choose their Solemn as both the artifact and the creature mode. So then they have 1 less permanent than everybody else.
Yep.
So you're just like, okay, well that is your artifact you're keeping. That is also the creature you're keeping. The same is true for enchantment creatures and the like. There are ways to manipulate it so that you're always ending up ahead. Nice. Or you can even use that same trick to give yourself 2 creatures. Like if you are the one with the Solemn, you probably would want to sack the Solemn. So that might not be the best example. Okay, let's say you have a Metal Worker.
Okay.
You can keep the Metal Worker as the artifact and then keep another creature. And now you have 2 creatures.
Yeah. That's a great thing to know. And we have so many enchantment creatures now from the last couple of sets that this actually will be really relevant. So
yeah, especially with Kamigawa, they really increase those. Yeah.
All right, well, thanks so much, Damon. That was a great level up moment. Thanks for sharing it.
Thank you, guys. Deuces.
All right, and we are here with my assistant, Truck. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So let's talk about your biggest Commander level up moment.
Yeah, so pretty early on into starting playing here, I quickly realized everyone's decks were really good, and everyone's really good at Magic. So
everyone does it for a living.
Yeah. So you kind of got to, level up.
You adopt your game, literally. Okay.
Yeah. So it was one night. It was the first time we all got with Posty, actually, and we started playing.
And Posty's decks are powerful.
Oh, yeah. He is insane. And so I had a card in my hand, which was Gruesome Encore, which basically lets you reanimate something from someone else's graveyard in my Obeka deck.
Yep.
And, you get to cheat it out because you get to keep it forever. But starting from like turn 4, I'd be like, so what everyone's got in their graveyard? And I was like, I got nothing, man. And then turn 5, I'd be like, what's everyone got in their graveyard?
Still nothing.
I got nothing. And then this went on until like turn 8, and we're like, guys, even if you like, can y'all just help me out? Can you get something in your graveyard? And there was nothing.
So what did that teach you?
That kind of taught me that. So in my Obeka deck, at the time, there were several different game plans, right? There's like make a bunch of clones with like Myriad. There's like steal all your opponent's stuff. There's like cheating things out. There's like reanimation. There was a bunch of different ideas. But because there were so many different ideas in my deck, a lot of the time I'd have like a combo piece for one thing, and then I'd have payoff for another thing, and then I'd have something else, and none of them would really work with each other. So I quickly, like after that, I was like, okay, I'm scrapping this card. And then a couple games later, I'm like, okay, I'm scrapping another card. And after like 3 or 4 repetitions of that, I'm like, I have cut like 5 graveyard cards in the last week.
Yeah, maybe my deck is just not going to deal with the graveyards at all, and I'm just going to buff up in one of these other categories. Exactly. Like I'm going to have more big creatures that I can cheat out or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like I still play a couple just because they're fun and they're good, but now it's very much so like this is a pet card, this is a value card. If I was describing my deck to someone else, I wouldn't even mention that was like something my deck could do. It's just a card that happens to be in my deck.
Jimmy and I like to say that if you can't describe your deck in like 2 sentences, then it's trying to do too many things and it probably won't be very good.
Yeah.
Because if your deck is like, okay, so I'm trying to draw some cards and then I'm trying to sneak big creatures into play and then mill my opponents to regrow their big creatures and get those in, you're like, wow, listen, that's too much that your deck's trying to do. It's what it's going to do is none of it.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's just hard. Like, cutting cards from your deck is like, which kid do you love the most? Like, I want all of them. But
well, you just build more decks.
Yeah.
I find it very freeing when I've discovered that a segment of my deck is not what I want to focus on. Because to me, it's like, oh, sweet. That's 8 cards. I can put 8 cards that are along my main game plan into my deck. And usually there was a bunch of cards that I cut.
Yeah.
That are like, oh, so now I know that I want my deck to have big creatures. So, there's 3 or 4 big creatures I wanted to put in, but I cut at near the end of the process. I can put those in now, and I feel like good about like, oh, those get to be included, and now I know what I'm focusing on or whatever.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. I think it's just me specifically. Like, my optimum power level is, I think, a lot lower than most people's. Definitely lower than most people at the office. I'd say like a low 6, a high 5 is where I have the most fun.
Yeah, we're like 8.
Yeah.
Solid 8.
Yeah. And then even after that, like I am very much so a commander is I want to have fun first. And if I happen to win, that's great. So like in games, I do often make suboptimal decisions because I think it's more fun. And I think that bleeds over into my deck building a lot. And it's like do you cut a land for this cool card? The correct answer, PSA, is always no. But like the basic island you put into your deck is going to do a lot more work than the 9-drop you put in. But the 9-drop is just cooler.
I don't know, man. I think the island's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm not arguing, but it's getting to play Magic by having lands on board is pretty fun. Like, ask Jimmy Wong anytime he doesn't have lands on board. Having lands is cool. But like
But when you look at the two things, you don't play Magic to put the island into play. You play Magic to put some big dragon into play.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, you have to make concessions, right? Like, no one's playing Magic to be like, I mean, I guess some people, I know people in this office who are, so I guess I'm just wrong. But like, I don't play Magic to be like, I'm going to path your thing. I'm going to counterspell this. I play Magic to be like, here's my cool thing.
Right. You're a Timmy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think all play styles are definitely valid, and just knowing what you are can sort of help you in this process. Just knowing you're a Timmy probably can help you. But you just have to know, like, okay, trying to do too much is going to work against the fun that I'm going to have too, right? Because it's not fun to have Gruesome Encore in your hand and you just don't have a target for it. And your deck is just not built to support it. Like, that card is good in decks that are milling my opponents.
Exactly.
And if I'm not doing that other part already, then I don't want that card in my deck. And just learning that is like, cool, now I can put a different Timmy card in my deck. It's not like you have to replace it with a Pact of Negation or something, right? Just replace it with a card that is on your main game plan. Put a Blightsteel Colossus in or something like that. Oh, I'm going to cheat things out. So, yeah, I think that's a good lesson that we all hopefully learn at some point, and that definitely levels up your deck building. All right. And that also just means you need to build more decks, because I'm tired of playing against the Obeka deck all the time. So
the deck is fun. I'm a broke college student.
All the cards that you took out that you don't use in that deck anymore can just be another deck. Just build another Dimir deck.
Look, sometimes I don't want things to make sense. I just want to complain.
Fair enough. All right. Thanks, Chuck.
Thanks.
All right. That was really, really fun. I loved what some of the team members had to say. What do you think was your sort of favorite from the batch of people you talked to?
I don't know if I have a favorite, because it's hard to, pick favorites.
Yeah, sorry.
But I have, there were some that resonated with me. In particular, I think Jake talking about play pattern recognition was also a level up moment that I've had. I mean, honestly, I've had a lot of these level up moments, I would say.
Yeah.
But that was maybe a more recent one where I've really started to think about, what is my deck trying to do on each point of the curve, not just like as far as like, do I want to curve out, but also like, do I really want that effect at that moment in the game? Do I want to push those around? And a lot of times you find like, oh, I'm not, yes, that's a 1-drop, and on my curve it sits in the 1 slot, but really I don't want to do that at that point in time. I want to do that on turn 4 or 5.
Later on, yeah.
How does that cause me to change sort of how I think about it? How about you?
Very interesting. Yeah, I really liked what Arthur was talking about, because he basically took apart all of his very powerful expropriate, level decks, because those cards win the game, but they also make the gameplay kind of miserable for everyone else. And then you're put in this high tense situation where you're like, I got to close it out. I made this mess. Now I have to clean it up.
Right.
And I've been in that position too before, where I started skewing very much into that realm. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to pull it back. I don't care if I lose. That's something I learned from like playing with Craig so much, is that it's fun to lose sometimes.
Yeah.
So I actually have a bit of a combination from everyone's, but I think I felt Arthur's the most.
I think that is an arc that most Commander players go through, where you start out, you're learning the format, you kind of don't have your feet set, you tend to get trounced a bit in the beginning, then you start to hold your own, and then you're just like going to go to Google and be like, most powerful deck.
Yeah.
And everybody goes through that. I did that, you did that, I'm sure, and then you put together some of these really powerful decks, and you play them, and then some people like that, and I think they move on towards CEDH and they find those communities, and that's great.
Yeah.
And some people find, I think what Arthur found, which is that it wasn't as fun for him, and then they kind of throttle it back.
It was like fun for a little bit.
Yeah.
And there's still fun to be had, but in the large scheme of things, probably not what you want to do with every game.
Yeah, or at least Arthur doesn't want to. I think it's fine if people do want to do that. And, I still keep like 2 really strong decks around just for those moments when we say, hey, you want to bring out the heavy hitters? Yeah. So, pretty cool. Hopefully everybody out there enjoyed everyone's perspective. To the listeners, I think there's going to be an obvious one. What was your biggest Commander level up moment? We would love to hear from you in the comments on Twitter. If you're a patron, you can let us know on Discord. But it is always fun to hear those level up moments. And sometimes those level up moments, just hearing them from other people, they help you level up.
Yeah, and hopefully you all have learned something from our content. Maybe that's been a level up moment, is watching me mess up and knowing that you shouldn't do that. Or keep a one-lander with Ancient Tomb and Sensei Divining Top, right? Just don't do those things.
That was a level up moment for me, too. Don't do that. Don't do that.
But I still might do it, but don't do it. Of course, make sure you go to channelfireball.com/command. If you're going to put any of these level up moments into your gameplay, you're going to need the cards to make it happen. Either you're powering down a deck or powering up a deck or changing your play pattern to match sort of what you want to do in the game. The way you're going to do that is by getting the best deals on Channel Fireball's marketplace. You can enter in the promo code COMMAND. Also at checkout, you'll need to type it when you go there. You're going to find great prices, all the cards you can be looking for, and you're going to be supporting local game stores at the same time. It's a win-win.
Yeah, I order almost all the cards I get now off the marketplace, and they've just been great. So kudos to Channel Fireball, and kudos to Ultra Pro, who is another sponsor of our show and the company that Jimmy and I trust our own personal collections to keep it safe. All of our decks are in Eclipse sleeves. We always, every single one of my decks now is in some kind of Ultra Pro deck box. Although I use different kinds. I have Satin Towers. I have Mythic Collection. I have
I got the Game Nights deck box now. All of our backers finally getting them in the mail. It's so great to see that.
Yeah. So Ultra Pro really does make the best stuff to protect your game pieces, and we put a lot of resources into this game, and you want to make sure that all your stuff stays pristine. Ultra Pro helps you do that.
That's right.
All
okay.
Right. Time for the end step. Yeah, where we talk about something cool outside the world of Magic. I think we have time to actually do one this time.
Yeah.
All right, so
full disclosure, you've seen it, I haven't, but I do know a lot thanks to the internet.
Yes, of course. We're talking about, what do you think we're talking about, Jimmy?
I don't know. Where is it? What is the end step? Where is it?
Where is it? That's the old Batman.
That's true.
I will say that Robert Pattinson, his Batman voice is better probably than anybody's, because he doesn't like do it very much.
Yeah, he doesn't try to go.
He doesn't sound stupid. Yeah, it's like a little bit different than a normal voice, but it's not like annoying.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like a kid. It's kind of like the edgelord, and it's like, I'm gonna do this to look cool and style my hair like this. It's like no, he's just trying to be Batman.
Yeah, well, obviously we're talking about the Batman, the movie, and we won't spoil anything here. Although it's hard to spoil Batman anymore. You don't think Batman's going to die in the movie, right? Like,
if you've seen the trailer, you get a lot of who's going to be in the movie, what the general plot is.
He defeats the bad guys. That's not. You can't spoil. But I will say that I thought it was quite good and one of the better Batman movies, and I thought Robert Pattinson was probably one of the better Batmans.
I think Robert Pattinson is severely overlooked by a lot of people because he was in Twilight.
Yeah.
Same thing goes for Kristen Stewart, and it's a tragedy because the guy's a really good actor.
Yeah, he's quite good in the movie. I mean, he's very brooding, but that is what the character is.
Yeah.
And I thought the movie, it was just well done. It had a really good mood and tone. I think it was, it's 3 hours.
Ooh, boy.
So
it's the Batman.
Yeah, I want to say overall that I liked it and I recommend it. And I think people should go see it. And it definitely is a movie that I think is good to see in theaters because it is still Batman, so there's still a lot of spectacle.
Yeah.
So
stunts, craziness, the cars, and all
loud.
That stuff.
Like you want a full sound system, and there's also that visceral feeling of everybody in the theater being excited and kind of shocked at the shocking moments and kind of happy at the happy moments or whatever.
Yeah.
That I think is worth it for movies like that. But I will say the length, as just a minor complaint. Have you ever been to a restaurant and the meal's going really well and they bring the food and they don't mess anything up and they refill your drinks on time and you're like, yeah, this waiter is on it, and then they just never drop the check. And you start to be like, listen, I thought you were awesome, but where are you? And we want to go. And,
Or the restaurant starts getting busier as you're there, and then all of a sudden the waiter that's been so doting is just nowhere to be found.
Yeah, and you're like, this, I was a waiter and a bartender, so I'm always going to tip well. It's not going to affect the tip, but it just leaves a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth. The service could have been A+.
I see.
And at the end, it's just I had, it took a long time for the check to come down, and I felt like I was kind of waiting, which was just mildly annoying.
Right. So this one was just a bit long in the cowl, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Just a tiny bit.
Just at the end, you were like, why am I still sitting here watching this?
I mean, I guess this would be a spoiler, but it could be, I'm assuming, one of those movies where it's like, it's over now. All right.
Nope.
Never mind. We're still
Whole
going.
other action scene. And then you're like, it's over now for sure. Nope. A little Return of the King, although Return of the King, they had 3 movies to build up to that point.
True.
I guess Batman has had like 27 movies.
Yeah,
to build
I was going to say, okay, well, here's the real question then. Batman power rankings, right? What's your favorite Batman, and where does this one place?
Wow.
Because I think a lot of people are saying this is either 1 or at least 2 or 3. It's very much up there for people.
So, do you know yours?
I think so. Yeah,
well, you haven't seen this one.
I haven't seen this one, so I will place this nebulously in the top 5.
Yeah. Give me a ranking of the previous Batmans besides our Pat.
I grew up in the 90s. I love Batman Forever. Yeah. It is so cheesy and dumb, but it's just the soundtrack and all the characters are just so over the top. I like that kind of bombastic style. So that one to me sentimentally holds number 1. And then
so who's that Batman? Is that Val Kilmer?
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
my goodness.
It's
you're putting Val Kilmer at number 1?
Kiss from a Rose, man. Come on, Seal. Let me list, just so everyone understands, let me list off the cast of this incredible movie, right?
With Jim Carrey?
Yes, it's the one with Jim Carrey. It's also the one with good old Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, it's
Two-Face. Nicole Kidman is in it. Of course.
So Val Kilmer is your number 1 Batman of all time?
Well, the movie, not the actual.
But you're asking me Batman rank. Oh, you're saying movie rankings.
Yeah, movie rankings.
Oh, I thought you meant Batman rankings. Okay.
The
guy playing it.
Okay. If I had to go Batman rankings, it's a little different. Maybe I'll throw it all the way back to Adam West as the classic. They set the tone to be all the silly movies later on.
I showed that to my nephews because they were talking about this movie, and I was like, do you know what Batman looked like when I was a kid? And I looked it up on YouTube, and I played it, and they watched the whole episode.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, wait, you guys don't think this is totally lame? They're like, yeah, but it's kind of good.
Wow, that's great. So yeah, I would throw it out to Adam as he's the OG, obviously, but I think if I had to rate Batmans, I think Christian Bale did a really good job, honestly. I think he did a fine job overall.
I hated it.
I think the thing that people should actually hate are the movies, because I think the movies are also severely overrated.
Oh, we should have a talk about this because I think, I think that Chris Nolan is like one of the, he's good, but he's one of the more overrated filmmakers because if you just imagine you just took Heath Ledger
out of that movie
away from, then I think Batman Begins is super mediocre, and I think the second movie probably sucks without Heath Ledger. Just put Jared Leto in there instead of Heath Ledger. That movie, because the whole Two-Face storyline is bad. That movie's really long. And
also, that movie is just.
It's just Heath Ledger. He's awesome, and he carries the entirety of the movie.
Yeah, if you read the script and actually follow the through lines and try and write it, becomes a mess. Yeah, it becomes an absolute mess, and you realize it is the performances that ground it and the spectacle of how good the performances are.
Yeah, Heath Ledger's just so good every time he's on screen that you're like, I'm intrigued the whole, he carries you through the whole movie. Anyway, and then I think obviously the Bane movie is pretty bad.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Well, that's like Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan's in the studio. I need to make a movie. I want a soundtrack that sounds like Bane. Interstellar. That's what it sounded like to me. Okay, we're bagging a little too hard. You know what? Hard. Memento, incredible. Inception, mind-blowing. Dark Knight
Memento,
series.
One of my favorite movies of all time, and I think it's probably his best movie. Honestly.
I think Batman Begins is better than the rest of them because it just has the gravitas of the origin story, and it's been a while, and it brought the whole gritty thing back, and then everyone kind of got into the gritty too hard.
Okay, I want you to watch Batman Begins because I heard a story, and we don't want the Incept to go forever, but in the final scene, there's all those cutaways to those 2 random guys in the control tower.
Oh, right,
watching it. I heard that all that was added because
people didn't know what was happening.
Yeah, so they needed these guys to be like, oh my gosh, he's gonna do the thing. You know what I mean?
Chris Nolan has this really bad habit of giving completely random characters you'll never see again just lines that make no sense out of nowhere. If you watch Dark Knight, there's truck drivers that say something and then you just never see them again. You don't know why they said that. It happens a lot.
I think he's somebody's like, this doesn't make any sense, Chris. We got to blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh, we'll just have this guy explain it. Just have him say this.
Yeah, that'll work.
It must be great if you're an actor on the day. You're like, wait, what?
What?
I was an extra.
No,
okay, yeah.
That's what it feels like because so sorry to the actors that actually did it. It does sometimes feel like extras doing it. Okay, so okay, back to Batman rankings.
Oh, we're still going.
Val Kilmer's still up there, by the way. I thought Val Kilmer was great. I think Clooney was really good.
Oh my god. going on?
Everyone's gonna just hate me after this. Okay, fine. What's your favorite then? My favorite, I would say, would be Adam West first, just for the sake of it, and then Michael Keaton's obviously probably 3, and then in the middle is one of my just like nostalgia favorites. So that would be Nipple Clooney or Val Kilmer with Robin.
I mean, I put Robert Pattinson as probably number 2. I think I put Keaton as 1.
Nice.
He was pretty good.
I will say Keaton, he has now played 3 superheroes or villains. Like, the guy has something about him that conveys.
I mean, he's a very good actor. I think it's hard to deny that in any way, shape, or form based on what he did before and after. And I thought he was good as Batman. It's a hard role to play, obviously, because in the suit you can't do much.
And it was one of the original suits, so you watch him just looking like a Roblox character.
I love when he looks up, because he can't bend his neck, so he just goes like this. Every
time he's like, I'm going to do something. It's like a plank of wood the whole time on screen because of the cowl.
Yeah, and I put Robert Pattinson second.
Okay.
Maybe Adam West. I mean, it's so hard to put him in that conversation at all.
It's a TV.
And I think all the other ones are bad.
It's like all just kind of a mush.
Yeah, I just can't get past Christian Bale's Batman voice.
I will say
it's so bad that it just ruins everything.
When I was a kid, I thought it was cool or younger, and then the more that people started joking about it, I was like, you know what? They are right. This is too much.
It just takes me out of the movie every time he talks. Because you're like, who would do that? Like, who listening to him would be like, okay. Like, everybody would be like, dude, what are you doing with your voice? Why?
You look very intimidating. You don't actually have to do that. I will also give a shout out to Cillian Murphy, who's very good in those movies, and I hear Paul Dano's amazing in the Batman as well as
Killian, actually. Right?
Oh, it is Killian. You're right. So sorry, Killian.
All right. So
nice end step.
We derailed like crazy, but go see the Batman or wait till it's streaming.
Do
I don't know.
not tweet me about my Batman choices. All right. I love Batman Forever.
The Batman section of this episode is longer than all of the advice.
That's our level up moment. Is Jimmy's. We all learned how bad Jimmy's Batman choices are.
Whatever. There's no saying that you could be right and I could be wrong. There's no right or wrong.
True.
That's just taste.
No one's gonna give any credit to Ben. Good old DC Batman, the most recent one.
Oh, Ben Affleck. I totally forgot. He's probably like 3rd.
I've never seen a Ben Affleck Batman movie, and I don't think I ever will.
See Justice League or?
I didn't see it.
Wow.
I can't.
I totally forgot he exists. But honestly, he's probably 3rd. Like, yeah.
Third. Okay. Maybe I do need to see it now.
I think Kilmer, Clooney, and Bale are just so bad that they could never.
Wow.
Yeah. That just by default, he's 3rd.
Nice.
Mr. Affleck.
I'm sure he took that. That's like a backhanded compliment. It's like, everyone else sucks.
He's a really good director.
Back to 3rd. Yeah, he's a good director.
And actually, he's become, I think, a good actor. And he was great in Good Will Hunting.
Yeah. He was not good as a Daredevil. Sorry.
All right. Big thanks to our... I'm just moving on. We're just getting out of this.
Yeah.
Big thanks to our amazing team here at the Command Zone. Arthur Meadowcroft, Lady Danger, Manson Lung, Craig Blanchett, Ashlen Rose, Alfred Estaka, Josh Murphy, Jake Boss, Patrick Nan, Jordan Pridgeon, Sam Waldo, Grov Galati, Truck Ty, Jamie Block, Damon Lenz, Shauna Gillis, Mitch Trafford, and Evan Limburger.
Woohoo! And big thanks to Jeffrey Palmer, as always, for the living card animations that often live behind us on set. This one, I don't think was...
This was by Sam, yeah.
But you can find him on Living Cards MTG. Someone actually messaged me recently on our email and was like, hey, I want to know where this animation came from. If you go to Living Cards MTG on Twitter, he actually has all of his animations up for free. You can download them and use them for your own. It's great.
Yeah, Jeffrey, very generous. He's got like a Google Drive that you can just access.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So, yep, at Living Cards MTG on Twitter if you want to find that.
All right, everyone.
All right, everybody. Enjoy the Batman.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Peace.
For your attention. For further inquiries, send an email to commandcast@rocketjump.com or ask us on Twitter @JFWong and @JoshLeeQuai. See you later, alligator.
Greetings, humans.